So your employer has just let you know that they have been served with a notice to start garnishing your wages. How much are they going to take out of your next paycheck? And as a general rule, the answer is 25%. 25% of what? 25% of your net. So let's just make up some good, clean, easy numbers here just so you can follow. Let's say you gross $1,000 a week. Your creditor is going to get, or let's say you net $1,000 a week after taxes, after insurance, and all that stuff. I know that's a lot, but hypothetically, if you were doing that, a creditor is going to get $250 every single week out of your paycheck. One fourth, one out of every $4 of your net, they're going to get in a garnishment. I have a lot of clients who'll say, "Oh, this is terrible. I didn't get any notice. I didn't know about this at all." In about 99% of those cases, it's total BS because in order for a creditor to garnish you, they've got to sue you first. And in order for them to sue you, they have to serve the complaint on you. And that typically happens about 30 days before you get a judgment. And then after they get a judgment, they're usually not garnishing you the very next day. Usually there's like a few weeks involved before they figure out where you work, before they get their paperwork and they get everybody to sign the right orders at the courthouse to start garnishing your wages. Now, another very common instance that will come up is somebody will say, well, yeah, I know about the debt, but this is from like 10 years ago. It's been too long, right? Well, what's the answer? The answer to all legal questions is it depends. What does it depend on? Well, if they got a judgment against you 10 years ago and they've been renewing it like they're supposed to, yeah, they can garnish you 25% of your net. And I know that's scary. I know it's a scary thought to think, oh my gosh, they're going to get 25% of your paycheck. But let me tell you something that's more scary that a lot of people in the state of Georgia don't know about. And that's this: if your employer screws up this garnishment in any way, shape, form, or fashion, they become liable for all of the debt, all of the judgment, every bit of it. And they don't get to make payments. They have to stroke a check for that whole amount under Georgia law. It's terrible. You would not believe how many employers get caught in this situation. I think the worst case that I ever saw was the debtor, the person calling me, was the person who worked at the company that was in charge of opening the mail. And she hid the mail from the employer because she didn't want it to come out of her paycheck. And she didn't bother to call me until after they had already gone to court and after they had already got a judgment against her employer, and her employer was legally gonna have to stroke the check. Oh, that was a bad day for her. That was a bad day for that poor guy that owned that business. Very scary. There's no way out of it. Once you screw it up, and the notices are very clear, crystal clear directions come from the court. You have 45 days from the date of service to start mailing payments into the court. Most employers don't wait 45 days. They could if they wanted to, but they're smart. They're not going to. They're going to mail that check in as soon as they get the order and have a little cushion there to make sure things are being received and that the system is flowing. Now, let me ask you something. If you're somebody that's been running away from debt for a long time and you've got a lot of people that are about to sue you, how happy do you think your employer is going to be to receive multiple garnishment orders? Let me answer that question for you. They're not going to be very happy. Now, can they legally fire you because you're getting garnished? Your wages are getting garnished? Well, I'm not an employment lawyer, okay? But I don't think they can. I think that's kind of a violation of public policy. But Georgia is an at-will state. What does that mean? That means an employer doesn't have to give you a reason to fire you. If you are an at-will employee, they can come in and say, "Hey, we've just decided to make some cuts and you're it." They can they can twist things. They can. So what's the moral of the story is don't run from these debts. We one way or another, we got to take care of them. And if you're in a situation where everything's just kind of piling up at once, I mean, we've had a lot of stuff happen through the recent years. And the most recent thing, these gas prices are going through the roof. If you're on a tight budget, living paycheck to paycheck, and all of a sudden gas jumps, something's got to give. And maybe taking a look at chapter 13 or chapter 7 might be it might be time. Let's take a look at your credit report. Let's look at all the debts. Let's look at the big picture. Can you imagine what it would feel like when you don't have to run anymore, when you don't have to hide, where you can just face it all and take care of it in one fell swoop? Chapter 13 and chapter 7, it's a good system. We look at your paychecks, we look at your income, we see what's the best option for you. It doesn't cost anything to just talk to us. It doesn't cost anything for you to download my free book on chapter 13 and chapter 7 from my website, kellycanhelp.com. That doesn't cost you anything. Educate yourself. I have tons of videos. I have I have a podcast website as well, kellybankruptcy.com. Educate yourself, learn about your options. Don't feel bad that you might need to utilize this tool that thousands of people have used. I've been doing this since 1998. I've probably filed over 10,000 cases. Life happens. Sometimes things go south, and this is a good option for taking care of business. Now, one other thing I want to point out, if you just ignore this thing and let's say, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'll just quit my job and now they can't catch me." Well, if you've got a checking account, they're going to find it. And sometimes they'll start garnish you and then find your checking account later, and they can clean out your entire checking account up to the amount owed on the debt. Can you imagine how horrible that might be if they do it on the last day of the month, the day before your rent's due, and they clean it out? How happy is your landlord going to be when they don't get the rent payment? Answer: not very happy. Avoid that stress. Avoid that nightmare. Take care of the entire picture. Let's take care of business. Let's see if we can come up with a plan to get you back on your feet. Thank you for tuning in.